Let's now insert a SketchUp model. Normally, prior to inserting a model, we'd want to spend some time in SketchUp to make sure the model is set up properly and organized with groups, layers, and scenes. But for this lesson, we're just going to dive into inserting the model first so we can understand how layout works with model references, which will help inform us as to what we need to do to our SketchUp model to keep things linking and updating correctly. There are two main ways to get a model into layout. As we've already discovered in the Getting Started lesson, the first method is to export straight from SketchUp. We do this by going to File, Send to Layout. We're then prompted for a template, and after choosing one, there's our model. The second way is to insert from within Layout. To do this, go to File, Insert. Unlike SketchUp, there's no prompt asking us to differentiate between different file formats. So just navigate to the only model provided with the exercise files and click Open. Now that we have a model linked, we can explore the SketchUp model settings. We have two main options to choose from: View and Styles. Starting with View, this is where we get to choose how we want to display our model in 2D paper space. If your model has no scene saved in it, then what's typically shown is the last saved view from the last time you closed and saved SketchUp. We can manually change the view at any point by double-clicking into the model viewport, which activates the model reference for live rotating and panning. Once inside the viewport, we can right-click and open up some additional camera and scene settings. We can also choose to toggle our shadows on and off as well. Though if you want to change the time of day for your shadows, you have to do that back in the SketchUp model window. For the next few exercises, we're going to need something more precise than a manual rotation can provide. So let's explore some different view and scene preset options. With the model viewport selected, start by changing the scene to ortho and then top so that we have a typical plan view. Now we can also choose from any of the side views in order to show our model in elevation. Now that we've switched from perspective to ortho, we can give our model view a scale, as we can't scale it if it's in perspective. With the viewport selected, pick 1/4 inch equals 1 foot from the scale dropdown, and that's it. We can change the scale at any time by choosing a different scale from the drop-down list. Remember that we explored how to add custom scales in Layout's preferences if a scale you need isn't already provided. Now that we've set a scale, we may need to adjust the size of our model viewport on the page. We can do this by dragging and adjusting the bounding box as we would any shape. If we want to preserve the scale when changing the viewport, which we do, make sure the Preserve Scale on Resize box is checked. Now when we adjust the viewport, we know that we're still working to the scale that we just selected a moment ago. Let's continue exploring the model settings window by going to where it says Rendering. Rendering in Layout refers to the conversion of your 3D model geometry to a 2D format. There are three options to choose from. First is Raster, which shows materials and previews faster, but pixelates if you zoom in. Next is Vector, which displays crisp, scalable lines that you'd expect to see when working in programs like Adobe Illustrator. But it swaps SketchUp's material textures for solid colors. Vector rendering may look the cleanest, but note that it can slow down overall performance depending on how complex your model and scenes are. The third option is Hybrid, which displays raster textures under vector line work and edges. We'll want to keep things optimized and running quickly for now, so stick to raster, and we'll compare the differences between the three rendering styles in more detail when we get to exporting our layout files at the end of this track.